Hi and welcome to Customer Mantra Demo number 4. This is Prasad Timaya and today we are going to talk about cash expenses, the feedback model that we have, and the customers tab. So to start with, let's try and understand what cash expenses are. Now in the previous demos we looked at calendar, we looked at direct billing, and what we understand is that calendars are used for booking appointments and billing the customer through the appointments. Direct billings are for billing the customer directly without having to book an appointment for them. Usually that is used for selling value cards, memberships, products, and so on. Now, cash expenses is a tool which is very similar to an account book. So what this does is that it keeps a track of all your accounting system. Now, with our system, when you bill a customer either by calendar or by direct billing, you bill the customer and collect payment. It could be via cash, it could be via credit card or debit card, or maybe any other payment methods, right? Now, when we collect payment either by credit card or debit card, that usually goes to the account which is connected to your payment gateway system. But when you collect cash from the customer, that's the only payment that is actually a hard cash which is in your salon or a spa. Which means if your manager or if your staff are possibly spending some money, it could be due to maybe they're paying electricity bills or water bills, or maybe they are um, ordering some food for the staff, taking them out for lunch, dinner. It could be for anything, but the money that they spend is actually going out of the cash that is collected by the customers. So while it is acceptable from a corporate standpoint to spend certain money as a cash expenditure, it is very important to keep a track of how much money has been spent out and for what reasons. Now this system keeps a track of the total money that is collected from customers by cash. So the opening balance that you see on the top here, which says 14,380, it is nothing but the cash transaction that you've had for the current month, the payment that you collected from the customer through cash. Now from this cash, if you are spending, you basically use the small tool, which is a very simple tool. Reference number is nothing but it could be a bill number or a voucher number or anything, and then you have these categories which says expense, cash withdrawals, and deposits. So expense, and under expense you have several other subcategories. It could be electricity, food, or anything, and all these are customizable. We could customize and we could only add those which makes sense to your business, right? So for example, food, and if you could have a description like team outing or something of that sort. And let's say if you have spent about 2000 out of 14,380, you mark it as 2000 here and then hit save. Now the moment you hit save, if you have noticed the changes here, what it says is that the opening balance was 14,380 and you have spent about 2,000 rupees from that, and today based on your cash transaction you have also collected 1,000 rupees, and your closing balance is about 13,380 rupees or dollars, right? So this is how it keeps a track. Now let's just say when we talk about cash transaction, it won't just be an expense, it could be a deposit as well. For example, if I have a balance of $13,380, I may not really need $13,380 to be there in the salon. So I may possibly get 13,000 rupees deposited against the company's bank account, right? So you basically have the reference number here again, and then you'd say cash deposit, and let's say deposit 13,000 or whatever, and here you would say 13,000, right? And then hit save. Now if you look at it, your opening balance when you started the day was about 14,380. You spent about 2,000 rupees since you took your team for outing, and then you also deposited about 13,000 rupees or $13,000, and then you collected a cash of about $1,000 today. So your closing balance as of now is about $380. and you could leave it at that. So tomorrow when you actually open your salon, when you log into the software, your opening balance becomes $380. And then depending on the transaction type, you keep adding this. So every month and every day, as and when you have any kind of transaction, be it a cash deposit or an expense, you keep adding this. At the end of the month, you could generate a report, based daily reports or weekly reports or fortnightly reports or even monthly reports pertaining to your cash transaction: total cash collected, total cash spent, total cash deposited in the bank, and so on. All right, now let's move to feedback here. Now, feedback is a system which, it doesn't necessarily need an introduction. Everyone knows what feedback is. Now, what we do is basically integrate the feedback mechanism into the software. The reason we do it is because when the customer walks in, you take the customer details and you feed that into the system, which means you are keeping a track of your customer's database. Now, imagine if you had a feedback mechanism which correlates to the database that you already have created, which means a customer comes and takes, let's say, facial service, and then when the customer is about to leave the salon or a spa, your receptionist actually hands over a small tablet or maybe a phone which has a set of questionnaire. All that the customer has to do is just click on those stars to rate you guys on the services that customer has availed, and then walks out. And then every month you get to generate a report which says how many customers walked in, how many of them actually participated in a feedback survey, how many positive feedbacks you have, and how many negative feedbacks you have. And out of negative feedbacks, you could drill down to the level of finding out, why did the customer give you a negative feedback? Was it the ambience? Was it the price? Was it the service that the customer availed? Or you could basically look at every single thing, including customers' comments on why the customer felt or why the customer thinks that you're not up to customers' expectations. And how you do it is very simple. Now, in the earlier demo, we actually created a customer, or we actually built a customer called Usha for a service. Now, the same customer appears on a tablet or a phone which is actually kept next to your reception. Right now, imagine for a second what you see on the screen here is a tablet or a phone. Customer takes a tablet or a phone and then sees the screen here, and then customer says, I would like to give a feedback. Now, this section you see here is a customizable section. You could add your own message, whatever you would want here, and customer basically can choose between these two options. If customer wants to give a feedback, they can say give feedback, or they can also click on no thank you. Right, so let's say a customer clicks on give feedback. There are a set of questions that appears. All these are customizable. There is no rule which says the question has to be the same or the format of rating has to be the same. You could have questions which can be rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, or you could have questions which just need some kind of answering in terms of verbatim. Right, so the first section of questions are purely based on your salon or a spa, and the second set of question is purely based on the service that was given by the staff. Now, in terms of, let's go back and answer these questions here. First question, ambience. Let's say I would give you 5 and then a 3 and then a 4 and then a 4 and then a 3, and here I would say good, and suggestion I would say test for now, and then feedback I would say 5. Right, so the moment I've done this and I hit save, this gets registered in the report as a feedback given by the customer on 26th of March by the name Usha against a particular employee who's taken the service. Now, with this data, you could run or generate several reports. You could generate a report to understand what your overall customer satisfaction score is. Or you could run a report, what is this customer satisfaction report based on your staff? So to basically see which of your staff is actually a high performing staff in terms of customer satisfaction and so on. Right? So this is about feedback. And then we have a tab which says customers. I'm going to click on customers tab here. Now, customers tab is a small tab that is created basically to help your staff pull out customers information and get more information about a customer. In a situation where customer comes and demands and customer wants to see the entire transaction or a history for some reason, you could use this tab and you could generate the history. So I'm going to use the unique ID here. I'm going to go back to 1 again. That's the unique ID of customer, and the moment you hit enter, it pulls up customer information, and let's say I would say view info. Now this is going to pull up quite a bunch of data, and this would help us profile the customer as well. Right, so these are the quick information about the customer that you see on the screen. If you want specific information about how many appointments that you have had with this customer, you could go to the appointments tab here, and you will see a bunch of appointments which says these are the services by this employee on this particular day on this date and time. And if you would want, you also can basically view a bill, right? If you go to bills here, you will see the total number of bills raised against this customer. You could filter it by different days and different status and so on. And then you have feedback. Feedback basically shows you the overall customer satisfaction score. So this customer may have come about this customer has actually visited us about 137 times in the past. So 138 times in the past, right? So which means out of 138 visits, customer may have given us about at least 20 to 25% of the time the customer has participated in a CSAT survey. So this gives you an average of the total surveys customer has taken and the average score of all the surveys customer has participated in. And then you have documents. Usually for a spa and salon, documents are not uploaded, so I'm going to skip this part here. We have packages. So this shows how many packages customer has bought in the past and how many of them have been used and what are the pending details and so on. You need to click view details here to see all the relevant information about a particular package. And then it also shows you membership details. So this customer has gold and emerald membership, and these are the points accumulated that you see on the right hand side here. The gold is inactive, which means it's the membership has expired. The customer is currently having emerald membership, which is valid till 23rd of May 2014. Gift cards, if customer hasn't bought any gift cards, so this customer has bought a couple of gift cards and they're still active. Then you also see the value card details here. The value card details basically shows what is the different type of what are the different types of cards the customer has purchased and the redemption of those amount against a particular value card. So in a nutshell, that's about Customers tab. Customers tab is to make it simpler to understand, it gives you a detailed report about a particular customer. So if a customer has purchased a package and says I only use 10 packages out of the 15 packages I'm supposed to get, and I want to see the details, you could just pull up the information here and go to the relevant tabs and then give customer the details that the customer is looking for. So that's it for today, and we will continue with the remaining during our next session. Thank you for watching.